Today, I'm speaking with Otto Peterson, a co-founder of Ecom Engineers, which is a company that helps small to medium-sized businesses increase reach, reputation, and repeat customers using AI and automation. I know Otto as we are both coaches for the AAA Accelerator community. He specifically is a sales coach and has helped more than hundreds of people starting their own AI automation agencies. In this conversation, we're going to specifically dive deeper into the capabilities of Spacir, which is a recruitment software as a service product that you, Otto, are developing, which streamlines the application process for recruitment companies. So, Otto, welcome to the show. I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about Spacir.
Thank you so much, Tara. Thank you for having me. It is a great honor to be on your show.
Nice. Awesome. So before we start, I first wanted to ask you a bit more about yourself and the Ecom Engineers as well as Spacir, just in general.
Sure. So the short version, e-commerce engineers, as the name implies, is based around online business, right?
Yeah.
Long story short, up to the pandemic, before everything changed, we were literally just fully focused on e-commerce, Shopify, things like that. And then once the pandemic happened, we sort of had to pivot into automation and then AI, and then it all just fit better than what we originally built from the beginning. So fast forward to e-commerce engineers today with our app, Spacir, we now help SMBs streamline their processes to help them scale, increase reach, reputation management, things of that nature that basically every single SMB needs, especially now that we have AI. So that's the short version.
Awesome. And maybe just one question before we dive deeper into Spacir and its capabilities. I was wondering, like you said, you started doing the AI and automation. Was there any specific point in time or like any specific moment where you figured out, oh, damn, like AI is really going to be like the next thing. We need to implement it in our business as well?
Yes, absolutely. It was probably a little bit before we developed Spacir, and it was with ChatGPT. And when I mentioned ChatGPT at that moment, about a year to 2 years ago, I recognized the opportunity when it could help develop social media content. So in terms of copywriting, the caption for posts on different types of social media platforms, it just saved a lot of time.
Yeah.
So once it demonstrated it could do that, obviously based on the prompts, input equals output. For the record, I am not a developer.
Awesome, even better.
Yeah. And that's probably one thing I've learned due to my over a decade in digital marketing. I used that experience to come up with the prompts. So I tested it on social media and it was great. And then I thought, can this help me build landing pages, funnels, websites? Would this help me save time? And it did. And that's when I realized, whoa, we need to look deeper into AI because this is literally going to change the game.
Yeah. So basically you first tried to apply it yourself. You saw the results and then you were like, okay, let's help other people do the same.
100%.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. I love these kind of stories where you first try something yourself, right? That you don't go only like selling to others, but first you see that it works for you and then you go on and implement it in other businesses.
Yes.
Perfect. So let's jump now into Spacir specifically. So I've heard about the results that the software is providing and they seem really incredible. So that's just kind of one more proof what AI can do, right?
Yeah.
So I was actually wondering, like, could you tell us a bit more about how did you actually start building the product? Like what was the situation around that and what problem is it specifically solving for the companies?
Sure. Full transparency, we built this for a recruitment company that my business partner, the other co-founder, he owns.
Okay.
So as I'm showing him what Spacir can do, then he realized, I think this can help my other business, which is a recruitment company. Because what you're showing me here, speaking to my staff and everything, it sounds similar, except the existing software that we're using doesn't do as good of a job as what you're showing me here. So then I thought, you know what? Let's explore. Let's have a look. Let's see what the existing software is doing. Let's see what problems the staff are having. And then we can see how we can integrate AI, automation, Spicia into the recruitment company.
Yeah. Perfect.
So we basically did an audit on the entire company. We sat down with each staff member for about half an hour, 45 minutes, and we spoke to them and just asked them what their function was within the company, right? Because we were aware of what their position was, but we wanted to know if they were aware of their
Of what they were doing.
Yeah. Because a lot of
That's always good.
that's always good because we can always assume if you have a position in the company, then that's what you're doing. However, after doing the audit and looking at the data, we quickly realized there were a lot of people that were crossing over and were double handling a lot of the jobs and the processes, which was causing the bottlenecks. So we did that for about a week. We sat down with each staff member. It was at a cafe, so it was very relaxed, right?
Nice.
It wasn't intimidating at all. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to create an environment where we just wanted to have a conversation, get to know each other, and to also let them know my role is to help them streamline their current processes, whatever it may look like, using the power of AI and automation. So that's literally how we started the process.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I think what's really important here as well is to kind of make them aware that you're trying to help them, not replace them, right? Like you're trying to streamline and take away the boring work and the double work and the repetitive work rather than like automating everything for the sake of them, being replaced. So I think that's a great approach. And so then let's dive deeper into like the problem that Spaceer is solving. Like what exactly did they have a problem with, right? Like you said that they're doing like double tasks that you help them eliminate with Spaceer.
Yes. So this is why data is so important. If you have access to the best data, that is going to tell you the truth, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
So we're so happy that we sat down with each member because what the group was saying in terms of what was wrong with the processes and why this was taking this long, according to the data, we could see there was a lot of crossovers in terms of this department and that department, a lot of double handling with applications that should have been processed a lot sooner than what it actually took. So fast forward, the problem that Spacia solved was what would normally take one staff member to process 50 to 60 applications. That would normally take them about a week to 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So from that, we were able to reduce that down to literally seconds.
Yeah. Amazing.
So like you're probably hearing this for the first time and thinking, oh my God, that's crazy. And I thought it was crazy too. I thought it was crazy. So as a result of that, there's now a new problem that is created, which, as you would know, there's a lot of unknowns when you build software until you apply it to the real world and then you see how it functions. The new problem that's arisen is because it processes applications so much quicker, they now need to generate more sales in terms of acquiring new clients to allocate the new applicants to a position or the position that they're applying for, which is a great problem because
something to solve.
Yeah, the intention of the audit and the business was to help grow and scale to the next level. Yeah.
Perfect. So then if I understand correctly, like your task coming in there was to basically help them reduce the time that they were processing their recruitment applications. So then I'm curious to hear more about like the actions that you took. So then you just went ahead, like when you had those interviews, then you went back and you started building the software like with no code tools, or was it more like coding?
Literally, it was pretty much low to no code tools. And as you know, quickest way between 2 points is a straight line. So what we had tried to do in this scenario was to simplify the existing processes. In their existing process, there were so many irrelevant steps that were
Yeah.
taking up.
Optimization.
Exactly. But the thing is, they were not aware of these
Mm-hmm.
problems until we presented them with the data based off the audit. And then we proposed a potential way to fix it / automation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's say, for example, the existing processes had 30 steps. We were
Mm-hmm.
able to reduce that to, let's say, 10 steps,
Mm-hmm.
but get a higher ROI.
I think that's so incredible. What's really important in to understand when you're automating something is to always reflect back on, are all of these steps needed,
Yeah.
especially when you don't have like the human component in it, right? And especially where you don't have double crossings, just like you had, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of people still don't really understand that maybe when they start building their own solutions, that it's important not only to automate, but also to optimize before automating.
100%. So I guess
Awesome.
for me, with my digital marketing background in e-commerce, because I've built e-commerce stores and taken them literally from 0 to 6 figures. I
Yeah.
was very familiar with automations, systems. And the one thing
Mm-hmm.
I've found that repeats every single time, this is the difference from, let's say, an e-commerce store that has a great product, but is just struggling to make more
Mm-hmm.
sales versus another e-commerce store that has a similar product or even the same product, but it can generate 6 figures. What's the difference? And I've found through that experience, it's literally the system. The
Yeah.
system must create leverage. If you don't have
Mm-hmm.
leverage within your system, then you're going to need humans to fulfill that role. And this is, again,
Yeah.
I bring it back to AI and automation. This was the light bulb, the aha moment that I saw years ago as soon as I saw ChatGPT and the power of AI. So that's
Yeah.
literally the same principles that I took into the audit and building out the workflow and the automation for this recruitment company.
Nice. Also great to hear with your experience, like how experience stacking works as well, right? Like when you reflect back, looking at different things that you've acquired in different points in your life, when you've worked with different industries, and then you put it all together and it all makes sense.
Mm.
Perfect. So now let's go on to the most important and most interesting part. Like I'm curious. So when you implemented that in the company, first of all, what were the results and how long did it take for the company to see those results, like to see the ROI?
Great question. So the immediate results were, I mentioned before, 50 to 60 applications. And that
Mm-hmm.
took about 1 to 2 weeks to process. The instant ROI was, we saw it in real time once we got applicants through the pipeline, and all the notifications that were coming through on mobile phone, on the desktop. We saw candidates apply for the job position and they literally
Mm-hmm.
went through all the steps, just like as if it took them 1 to 2 weeks. We were able to reduce that into
Yeah.
within 60 seconds. They had completed all the steps because they
Yeah.
just went through the automation like that. So that happened probably within the first 3 days.
Okay, perfect. So when you implemented it, that already started happening within 3 days. That was what I was interested in.
Yeah, it
Amazing.
happened within 3 days. And then the staff sat back and were thinking, oh my God, wow, now we have to set up an interview where they book them in, they come into the office and they do some training in person. It's like a day's training. But that step there would usually happen on week 7 or week 8.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
this is what I was saying in terms of a lot of the unknowns started to appear and we realized, wow, okay, we've fixed this problem, but now it's created these other problems, which are good problems to have because the intention
Mm-hmm.
of creating this automation was to help the business grow and scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Also, if I understand correctly, the tangible results were, of course, saving them like hours and hours of manual work. And then intangible results were also, I assume, like also the clients and like the applicants were way happier, right? Like if you actually process the application much faster and much more efficient, you have the interview, which also probably increased in the good reputation of the company itself.
You nailed it on the head, Tara.
Awesome.
That's
Awesome.
literally what's happened. So, because of my background in digital marketing for over a decade,
Mm-hmm.
what I implemented inside the automation based off the data that we got through the audits from each staff
Mm-hmm.
member, I could predict what the behavior would be from the applicant once they went through each step, right?
It's nice.
After they completed each step, they would receive a notification, a reply, SMS,
Mm-hmm.
email, congratulating them on completing the step. We've received your application. Our staff will review your submission and will be in touch with you over the next 24 hours. A lot of those messages I would purposely integrate throughout the
Mm-hmm.
automation. And what we found was the applicant would text back saying, "Thank you so much. Wow, that was really fast. I'm so happy. I can't wait." And this is the feedback from the staff. They said,
Mm-hmm.
"Wow, this is amazing. We never had that before." And I said, "Oh, yeah, because based on the audit, you guys told me what your processes were, and no one really gave instant feedback to the
Mm-hmm.
applicants." So my digital marketing experience told me, hey, if someone signed up for something online and then they gave them their name, email, address, phone number, usually you get a text message back or an email confirmation to let them know what the next steps are. So I just
Yeah.
integrated that. And now the applicants are texting back thinking that it's a real staff member, but I intentionally created the automations, the responses in a way that it's conversational.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think that's great. And I think that also just comes back to the principle that people just like being informed what's happening, right? Like you never, if you apply for something, you never want to be like, okay, I didn't get the email, like
Yeah,
probably didn't work, right? Like
right.
it's just human psychology.
Yeah, yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
to add to that, in terms of the feedback that we've gotten, not just from the applicants, but the staff of the recruitment company. Actually, last week they had their first in-person training. So as I mentioned before, the in-person training that normally would happen around week 7 or 8 after the applicant applied, they had
Mm-hmm.
their first one last week, right, in person, and they've got, I think, 6 Google reviews from the applicants that attended the in-person training. Things like that helps with their reputation management, and they haven't had a Google review in a long time. So,
I can imagine.
yeah, and the reason why is because the old way they were doing things
Yeah.
was just not working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's good to always try to combine like you did, right? Like AI automation together with another piece of your puzzle, which is digital marketing and then just human psychology as well. Amazing. Amazing. Really, really nice to hear. I had one more questions regarding like this recruitment because I was thinking like about like the bias,
Yeah.
which is kind of sometimes it's like a significant issue in traditional recruitment processes because like as human decision makers, sometimes we bring our own biases based on past experiences, and next to that, also AI systems can also have this like bias in them because if they're trained on the historical data that has specific biases, that's just going to be the consequences. So I was wondering, what are the actual strategies that you are implementing in Spacir to mitigate this bias in AI and kind of ensure this fair recruitment process for all candidates?
Great question. And I did do research before building the entire automation, this entire system, on what other recruitment companies are using in terms of software,
Mm-hmm.
and also if any are utilizing AI as such. And the AI bias came up a number of times. I looked into that and I thought, interesting. It makes a good argument, right?
Yeah.
So when I built this automation for the recruitment company, I actually left the AI out of the automation part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Reason being is because of the AI bias. So, and the reason why is because I feel, in terms of what's available to us today, I don't think it's quite there yet, where
Yeah.
I'm confident and fully comfortable to just hand it over to AI to do the entire application process, right?
Yeah.
I could. However, that may not be in the best interest of the recruitment company, who is just trying to get rid of the bottlenecks and grow and scale the company. However,
Yeah.
I do believe it's coming. It will be available and it'll be amazing. It'll be better than what I've built. So in terms of AI, I've just utilized that in terms of responding to messages as such. Conversational
Okay.
AI chatbot on the website. It can capture leads, answer their questions, and then take their details, and then it goes into the CRM. In terms of
Yeah.
the automation, I've literally just set that up using custom values, delays.
Okay.
In a sense, you can say I've literally built it manually.
Okay.
Like,
So logic based.
yeah,
Do I understand that correctly?
yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Nice.
because of my digital marketing background, I was able to predict what the outcome would be based on the data that we got from the audits sitting with each staff member.
Yeah.
And full transparency, it wasn't 100% smooth once we made it live. But when we saw what type of feedback was coming through and some applicants would not progress to the next step, I would then have to go right into that point of automation and then see how I wired everything together. And then I
Yeah.
found
Yeah.
why it didn't work or the responses people were giving. So then I would change the response. And then once we did those iterations, then it just ran smoother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also like process improvement, right? Like going back, seeing what's wrong, improving it. It's
100%.
just a part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So that's how I got rid of the AI biases in terms of
Yeah.
letting AI make decisions or favoring a certain applicant over the other.
Yeah.
So the way that I built the automation, there'll be probably a lot of people wondering, so how did you build the automation? So long story short, this is how I built it. I built the automation in such a way where I would put all the responsibility on the applicant. So
Okay.
let's say in the pipeline, there's say 13 steps. Step 1 and 2, they would have to go through it. And then the automation would stop at step 2 for the staff to look over their submission, right? And then if they were a good fit, then they would just update the application to step 3. And then the next automation would fire off. And then the applicant would then have to go through those questions and submissions and then submit again. But the automation would always be interacting with them, asking them on what they previously submitted so that we know they actually watched the video. Like it could be some training video, because a lot of these systems, they have a video, but then how do you know if they actually watched it and understood?
Yeah.
Right? So we put in markers that were part of the automation where they could check a box to say, do you agree with these rules as such in the workplace? Yes or no. And then once they tick yes, another automation would trigger. And then it just keep going and keep going. I call it the process of self-qualifying.
Yeah.
Because the staff, the old way, what they would do is they would manually call someone that submitted an application. They may have left a few things off their resume, or they might have needed other certificates that weren't there. So then they'd ask them, oh, do you have this certificate? And I put that all in the automation so that the staff doesn't have to ring anyone until they are qualified. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
that's what streamlined the whole thing. But it also demonstrates how committed the applicant is.
Yeah.
So if they can show initiative in
Mhm.
completing all the tasks as the automation keeps going and going and going, well, then that applicant is literally qualifying themselves for that role. And if
Yeah.
the applicants are just ignoring the automation, I've actually got prompts that ask them, hey, we noticed you applied for such and such role, but you didn't complete step 3. Are you still interested?
Mhm.
Like open questions. Some of them
Yeah.
would respond and then finish the application. Some of them wouldn't,
Yeah.
but we'd send reminders for 4 days. And if after the 4th day they still haven't replied, then they go straight to declined.
Yeah.
You see? So
Yeah.
we just solved a lot of their problems to save them from jumping on the phone, going back and forth. They
Mhm.
just didn't it just wasn't a good use of time, resources, and energy.
Yeah. I love how you managed to, first of all, I really like it that you took into account the AI bias and that you took it out of the equation. And I also really like the fact that you combined like AI for what it's like supposed to be doing, what it's doing best, automation, as well as like just kind of like human psychology and like just making sure that the candidates are qualifying themselves. I find that super smart. Like
Yep.
it's so much better to rely on like seeing, okay, if the applicant is actually interested, let's test that, right? And let's test that with automations.
Yep.
Yeah, super, super nice.
100%. Yeah,
Very
so that's
impressive.
why I like that question because I went through the whole research process and I saw what the market was doing. And if anyone had created a successful AI recruitment software, it doesn't exist yet, not to my knowledge. But I know
Yeah,
just give it time and it will be available soon.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. All right. I have one last question
Sure.
for you, Otto, and that is, so if anyone would be interested in Spacir or AI automation, how could they find you?
All the social media platforms, just type in my name, Otto Peterson, pretty active on LinkedIn and
Mhm.
YouTube.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
So,
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
definitely reach out. Happy to discuss helping you with your solutions or whatever it may be. But yeah, I'm available on all
Yeah,
social media platforms.
awesome. I'll put them also in the links
Awesome.
below.
Beautiful. Appreciate that.
Thanks so much. Appreciate your time, Otto, and well, speak to you soon.